Let's go ahead and bring the planning commission to order. Can I have the roll call, please?
Chair Lane,
Here.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Here.
Commissioner Polito,
Here.
Commissioner Lerner,
Here.
Commissioner Narensec.
Here.
All are present.
All right, very good. All right, full house. All right, so we have the annual election of chair and vice chair. And so we'll start the meeting with that. We need a motion for chair.
I move.
What are you moving?
You. Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay, all right.
Nancy, would you read that?
Third. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. I usually abstain,
Or one.
but I figured this is the last time. All right, and now for vice chair, Nancy, you'd be up if you were up for it.
I'll be up for it.
You sure?
Sure.
You sure you can manage me?
No, but I'll be up for it anyway.
All right,
It's been a tough job.
all right, then I'll move Nancy to be vice chair.
Second.
Moved and second. All right. Who seconded? Bob seconded. All right, then all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, congratulations. All right,
Yeah.
good job.
Good to know you.
All right, good.
Well,
All right, so that was pretty straightforward. Somebody
Yes.
check for hanging Chad somewhere.
Hang.
All right, item number 3 is for public comments. In public comments, we open that up for items that aren't on the agenda. Sometimes we get an update of a previous item. Sometimes people tell us of something new, and sometimes just somebody has something that they want to bring up to our attention. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for public comments unrelated to the agenda meeting tonight. Anybody here to talk on that? I'm going to open the public hearing and I'll close it. I forgot my gavel tonight. All right.
It's okay.
That's right. That's right. That could use that. All right. So then with that, then we'll go to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. This is from the May 24th meeting.
I didn't have anything.
I didn't have anything either on it. So you want to?
I'll move when we accept.
All right. Perry, you second. All right, good. We got you guys on the map for the last time.
Yeah.
All right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention, right? All right, good. Then with that, then we'll go to the public hearing items, item 5, and just to make sure everybody's on the same page, the way we conduct these sections is we'll get an overview from staff. Then the commissioners can ask staff information that was given to them. Then we'll open up the public comment section, and then we'll start with the applicant, and then anybody else who wants to speak on the item will come after that. Then we'll close the public hearing and we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and action as appropriate. And we'll do that on every item. If somebody comes in later or somebody comes online, you'll hear me do that overview again so that everybody's on the same page. With that, then let's start with the item number 5A, which is the tree protection zone exemption of 3 heritage trees on 345 Stockbridge Avenue.
Thank you, Chair Lane. I'm sharing my screen to the staff report for 345 Stockbridge. We have the applicant and we have Sally, the town arborist, with us tonight to help answer any questions you might have. I'm going to zoom to the plan. The request is for the tree protection zone of tree number A, B, and C for a new proposed detached car garage and the pool house next to it. The applicant worked extensively with staff over multiple months as to what she could and could not do on the site that she has. The existing site already has a sports court, a pool. And so the location that we're seeing right now would be the ideal spot for the ADU, a car garage, and the guest suite. Tree number C has been the largest tree so far on site, and it's a 58-inch redwood tree. And from what I hear from the town arborist, and she can speak to it in detail, that it was revived and it was cared for by the applicant, and the town arborist was very happy to see that tree come back to life this year. Based on what we have seen at site and based on what we are seeing as proposed, staff recommends approval of these TPZ exceptions up to 6x for these three trees. With that, I conclude my staff report and hand it over to Sally for her to speak a few.
All right, and just for somebody to come in, just want to make sure you know where we are in the process. We're on item 5A, which is on 345 Stockbridge Avenue, and we're getting an overview from staff. Then we'll bring it up for open for discussion, public comment. So then we'll bring it back. Sally?
So yeah, I sent the resident of this property who is here tonight a letter about 1.5 years ago to remove that dead redwood. It's letter C. But I worked with her. She wanted to revive the tree and now the redwood is looking really good.
Oh,
So I know the applicant wants to preserve the trees on her site. So for trees A and B, those are 2 oak trees. And what she wants to do, she wants to move the driveway around them, which actually improves the existing conditions. Right now, there's hardscape and a shed located there. So if we do this, if you approve this design, that will improve the conditions for those 2 trees. And then as for the other location, they're going to build the ADU on slab, which is better. And then there was already existing conditions there. There was a large shed there as well with a foundation. So because of those existing conditions, I was okay with recommending the TPZs of 6 times for all those trees.
Great. All right, thank you. Any questions of staff?
No.
Thank you for including the slightly larger map. That really helps a lot when you're doing the site visits. It just makes it much easier to see where things are. All right, with that then, I'll go ahead and open the public comment section. And we'll open the public comment and we'll start with the applicant. If you want to say anything, say.
Dear Commissioner, Planning Commission members and the planning staff and Sally, we have been working with the planning.
And go ahead. Go ahead
and
and say your name.
Sally
Go
for-
ahead and say your name for the record.
Okay, yeah, my name is Minerva. I'm the owner of 345 Stockbridge.
Yeah.
For the past 1+ years, we have been working with the planning and Sally to come up with the best solution because we need a garage and also support Atherton's housing situation. We want to build an ADU for potential
Thank you.
rentals. So it will be a 1,200 square feet ADU. But the problem is that we have a few good trees around the property. So our first option is to remove the trees A, B, put the garage there, and then have the ADU at the back. But then this would mean that remove 2 trees. The second option is separate the garage and the ADU because there's not much space, but then that would require asking for variance. So we work with the planning architect and everything and come up with this design in which we actually reduce the size of the garage and also the pool house so that the ADU become the main thing. And then there will be a 2-car garage mainly for our 2 cars and storage. And then we have a driveway, as you see, that curve around so that we don't remove the trees. And in fact, as Sally said, the driveway actually will give more protection to the trees because existing, we already have a dog shed and also concrete pavers there. So if we can do the 6X, actually it removes some of the concrete pavers to make the driveway work. And for the redwood tree, actually, when the tree was kind of dying, a lot of the people were telling us that we don't bother with that, just remove it. And then we have a lot more options to build. But I love the trees, Sally. So what we did is for the past 8 months, we worked with Sally to revive the trees. And then I actually came back there every day to put an extra hour of watering and then rang up the bill. And then also the tree is about 3 feet or 5 feet above the grade. So whatever we are going, even with the exception, actually it won't damage the roots because the roots are going to be above the crawl space or the foundation we are going to build. So with that, I sincerely ask for your permission so we can build another ADU for Atherton.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Anyone else here to speak on this item? Then I'll go ahead and close the public comment section and bring it back to the commission for discussion and action as appropriate.
I don't have any comments.
Yes, it looks pretty straightforward to me.
great.
It looks straight to me. And I have this vision of you and and Sally out there on the tree pounding in the chest, making sure it stayed alive for about a year and a half. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, really good work. All right, I need a motion.
I'm happy to make it, unless Nancy, you want to make it?
Yeah, all right.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. Move that the planning commission find the exception to the tree protection zone TPZ for the three trees. Number one, tree A. An 18-inch coastal live oak up to 6x 6x for the driveway. Number two, tree B, 18-inch coastal live oak up to 6x for the driveway. Number three, tree C, 58-inch redwood heritage redwood to 6x the tree's diameter for the ADU pool house to allow for the construction of a new detached garage, 1,200 square foot ADU and pool house guest suite at 345 Stockbridge Avenue. This project would not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the general plan for the reasons outlined in the staff report, and that the commission approve the TPZ exception subject to the conditions as listed in the draft TPZ exception certificate.
Very good. Got through that one. All
Second.
right, moved and seconded. You got the second? All right, Bob's on second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Thank you for taking care of the tree.
The motion
Aye.
passes for 345 Stockbridge.
All right,
Thank
very
you.
good.
Well done. Thank
Very,
you.
very. All right, item 5B, request for removal of 26.8-inch heritage tree, fir tree, Douglas fir at 92 Inglewood Lane. We'll go through the same process on this. We'll see overview from staff, then we'll open up for public comment, and then we'll bring it back to commission for discussion and action as appropriate. So Radha, you have this one?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to find share screen again. 92 Englewood is a project that came to us for a request to remove one 26.8-inch heritage Douglas fir tree. This is in anticipation of going into full construction for the site for a new residence and a basement detached garage, ADU and pool and driveway. Based on the conversations that we've had with the applicant, both Sally and I have worked with them extensively. We've talked to them about figuring, because it is in the initial conceptual stages. What you see here as a site plan is the one that they are asking permission for this tree. And you can see like many other sites in many other parcels in Atherton, there are a lot of large heritage trees. Alternative plans that were submitted to staff included impacts to other trees in the lot. And based on what we are seeing in those few alternatives, whether it was setting this back far ahead or on the opposite side of the site, the least amount of impact would be in the location that was proposed and location that was requested. And Sally has recommended approval. And so staff is upholding that request tonight. And I leave that to Sally to speak more on this project.
All right, Sally?
So when I first reviewed the Douglas fir tree, I found it to be healthy. I still think the tree is pretty healthy, considering this is not in its native range. So I denied the removal at staff level. So when they came into planning commission, we make them look for alternative locations. So if they move the garage to the other side of the proposed house, then two trees, 92, 93, which are oak trees, would have to be removed because there's no driveway on that side. And then if they move the garage back further on the other side, there's tree number 55, which is also a large oak tree. So they would be moving it closer to that tree. So they would be needing a TPZ exception, which I'm not sure if we could grant that. So considering that, I can recommend the removal of the tree. I also wanted to say that there's a rule that regulates species, gives ratings to species. And because this is out of its native range, this area is called Northern California Coastal. They give this tree a rating of 50%. So it's not highly favorable, even though this tree is healthy. I mean, I wouldn't recommend all Douglas firs in town get removed, but in this case, I can recommend it. Also, I don't think there's that many Douglas firs in town.
Yeah,
Thank God.
yeah. All right, good. Any questions?
We
Scott?
need more palm trees.
Yeah, more palm trees would be a good idea. Yeah,
I'm fine.
that's one of my pet peeves. All All right, then let's go ahead then and bring it and go ahead and open up the public comment section. Anyone here to speak on this item? Applicant or yes, sir? Come on in. Go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll go with it.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's John Daisy King. I'm with Pacific Peninsula Architecture, and I am the architect and applicant for the Hewongs. And Daewoo Lee, who are here tonight, obviously. I think now between the submitted information that's been submitted, staff reports have been prepared pretty well. So I won't go into any detail. There was one letter or email received by the
Right.
town from the Carruthers.
Right.
And as soon as I was aware of that, I did email them this afternoon. They are out of town on vacation.
Yes.
And so, but we did talk about it. I think that if they were going to try to be on the Zoom possibly. I'm sure if their schedule is going to allow that. So I'm not sure if they'll be speaking tonight.
Not everybody can hear you. Yeah, there's comments that they can't hear you.
And
Here you
there's
go.
somebody on Zoom, so I'm not sure if that's them or not.
Yeah. Go.
So I'm not sure if they'll be speaking tonight, but we did talk, and I think their main concern was they weren't sure if they are home, they couldn't really look at the tree and see what the impacts were. So I offered to go over and take some photos this afternoon, which I did, and sent from their property after their permission, and then sent those on to them. So,
All right.
and I haven't heard anything further. So
All right.
they'll be here tonight.
Maybe they'll be here online.
Yeah.
All right. Any
So-
questions? Any questions?
Anyway, happy to answer any other questions that come.
Any questions? No, I went to the property and I understand what Sally's assessment on it. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak to this item? Anyone online? All right.
I
all right,
see a hand.
Go ahead and
raised.
go ahead and take yourself off. There you go.
I'd like
I-
to speak. My
Yes.
name is Cynthia Yock. Paul and I, my husband, live on the other side of this project and know the Carruthers quite well. And in their absence, I'd just like to say that in addition to that Douglas fir tree, there are several smaller trees on either side. Although I don't see them show up on the site plan. Are you intending to take all of the trees along that fence down or just the Douglas fir?
I don't know. We'll come back to the applicant and answer that question.
Okay, the main reason is it strips away all the screening for the Carruthers home, including then exposes a bedroom on their upper floor that currently is quite private and will no longer be private at all once all the trees are gone. So that was really the comment. It doesn't affect us directly in our property because we're on the other side, but I do know that I walked the Carruthers property and showed it to them on video, and it was pretty clear that it would strip away all the screening from their driveway, their garage, and that upper 4-bedroom.
All right, thank you. Sally, on this, we get involved with the screening. I know that.
I can talk,
conversation.
I can say a few things.
Okay, go ahead.
So this applicant also applied for, let's see, 1 oak and 3 palm trees that I did approve that were either dead or dangerous on the site.
Yeah, those palm trees look like they're
And I
Yeah.
don't think they applied for any trees on that side of the property besides this Douglas fir. However, they are allowed to remove screening as long as they replace the screening.
right.
I mean, it's best practice to keep good screening in, but not everybody does that.
Yeah.
Why don't we just ask?
Oh, yeah, let's go.
They're
that's
sitting
fine.
here.
Yeah.
Are you taking anything out
Uh,
near that tree?
Yeah, and what are you replacing it with if you are?
We are, Sally mentioned there was one other oak tree on that side that it's shown on the submitted documents that is being removed. It's leaning badly. And that was approved by staff. So that is the only additional piece now.
All right. Is there any additional screening that's anticipated for
Well,
that?
yes, there'll be, we're still in the early stages on landscaping, but there are plans for at least one tree in that area to be planted. And also, the town will require us to do screening, but we also want to do screening. And I talked to the Carruthers today about how if, it's nice when neighbors work together. I said to our landscape architect for the project can talk with you and we can sort of develop a screening for both sides that,
Right.
that will work for the project.
Screening is one thing, but size of what you put in
Yeah.
is a big part. So what, do we want to put in like a minimum size that is fair since the applicant's not here, or we can push you to the next meeting?
No, that's,
I know what your
Happy
answer is
to
going to
hear
be.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do?
well, I think we were planning to plant trees. So if there's something that you would wish.
What,
like to-
what's the tree that was installed at, on Encina? That would, it grew very quickly and covered up very quickly that, it was,
I can't remember. I don't remember.
I don't either, but
We can require, I mean, for a flat like, a lot like that, it's only required 24-inch box size shrubs. But you could require two trees that we put two larger trees there that could,
well, yeah, what I would want in there was something that wouldn't have, no major roots, but something that would grow tall quickly, or be tall when it went in. So the key issue here is particularly its sensitivity on the fact that it's bedroom.
No one talked to a neighbor. That's what bothers me. So I'm not after you. Is that no one bothered to talk to them before this meeting, unless you did, and they just didn't choose to respond.
They were out of town. They were in
Well,
Europe.
I know not 4
Yeah.
months ago when this started.
Yeah, no, the first they heard of it was when I forwarded them a copy of the letter that I received in the mail, but they had not been here to check their mail, so they hadn't seen it.
All right.
And so that precipitated me walking their property to see as much as we could see over the fence. But they haven't been home since then, so I'm really, it's not really my business because I live on the other side. Thank you for the palm tree nod, though. I would love to see those gone. They're also rat condominiums, so it would be super to get that out of there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that they would be happy to hear about something replanted, but given it's their second story bedroom, I appreciate the nod to something that would grow quickly and maybe be installed during construction, so it's not exposed for a year and a half.
Yeah, you might want, you don't want to install during construction, but soon thereafter, because otherwise
Yeah.
the tree gets killed. Go ahead.
Just one thing to keep in mind. Part of the benefit of the design, the proposed site plan that we have is that going back a number of years, I was actually the architect for the Carruthers home, so I know the property.
Oh, good.
And know how it's, how the house is situated, the garage and so on. And in doing the property or doing the design for 92 Inglewood, the benefit is that we've got the garage and motor court for that garage basically on the same property line as the Carruthers garage and motor court. So we're keeping like uses on each side. And so those buildings are one story, but they give some, natural screening
Setback,
right on
yeah.
their own. And then the functions are the same, the amount of, privacy is the same. But with that in mind too, there's the motor courts all on both sides come, relatively close to the fence line. So the planting area is minimal. That's why I was suggesting to Carruthers, let's, maybe we put a tree on their side and we'll plant a tree, do something where we could alternate sides and develop something that's a little more natural in appearance rather than just a straight row of trees.
Yeah, so I'll pick up on Randy's point. So the key to have no speed bumps at this point is to make sure that was done before this meeting. But we can make a motion to the effect of working with the staff on and the neighbor on making sure that there's a privacy. So we can.
Yeah, I don't know how we do that.
You can effectively condition the project.
Yeah. We can do conditions.
Because we will award a certificate of approval or denial. You can add a condition
Yeah.
to modify and request
Yeah,
that the applicants work with staff to an approvable screening plan, which we can bring back in consent, or we can just share with you.
Yeah.
But
Oh, no, I don't think it should come back to us and this should be,
yeah, you can condition the project. It is
Yeah,
a discretionary
that's-
approval.
don't know how to do
all right. Yeah, we've done that before.
Sure.
We've done that. Okay, thank you.
May I ask
Yes.
one more thing too?
Go ahead.
I understand that they're very familiar with Carruthers property, but I welcome a visit to our property to understand. This is our first glimpse at the site planning too. And, we're similarly concerned about screening and privacy in our yard, given that we have a one-story house next to us and a two-story house might change things considerably depending on the window exposure and whatnot. So please come visit us. We would be very happy to see you and walk through before you're too finalized.
Yeah, and this is a good note to anybody who's thinking about developing this. It makes the process a lot easier. We start early with neighbors and work out, because if everybody's on the same page, it makes the whole process a lot easier. And finding out neighbors didn't know until recently, that's usually slows things down a lot. But we'll go ahead. Anyone else here to comment on these items?
I don't see anybody else
All right.
online.
Good, then I'll go ahead and close the public comment section and bring it back for discussion and action as appropriate. So I'm okay with some kind of stipulation about screening.
I mean, it's hard to craft that, right? So, unless you're ready to say something like a 60-inch box or whatever it is.
Well, I don't think the size of the boxes is as critical as what kind of plant it is. Because there are a lot of things that are smaller boxes that actually grow straight up very well.
Yeah, but it is stipulating the kind of tree, something that's appropriate.
No, I meant, yeah, Sally, help us on this one.
So typically we don't stipulate the species of tree. That's why they hire the landscape architect.
Yeah,
But you could condition it as in, it needs a certain height.
well, I don't know.
It sounds like they're suggesting too, to have something on someone else's property, which is a little bit,
I don't think
since
you
we have
want to
no
condition
idea
that
how you would
without
do
their
that.
approval.
Well, I mean, we can condition the fact that there's an appropriate screening that staff can review and approve. That would be enough, right?
That's over and beyond what is already required for screening. So you want to make sure that it's more than just saying it needs to be screened, but because the screen is pretty, it's an English laurel, it's going to not screen the second floor.
You can't delegate
So-
that.
Yeah,
You
right.
can't delegate
I-
that.
I have a question. Do we have anything? I haven't seen anything. I went out to the job site, but I wasn't looking at the neighbor's property. It's not obvious to me that the screening, that tree or anything in that corner, where's the neighbor, where's the Carruthers house on their lot?
Have to Google Earth it if you can put that up.
It's about the
But,
same depth as the current home is. It's a little bit, but it's a little long. You can give us an update on that. I'll bring it, go ahead and open the public comment section, because you said you were the architect for it.
So on the, if Radha can bring up the.
I'm gonna bring up
And we do show the corner of the garage area.
the
Right.
site plan. Is this the one?
So if you look, pointer, but where our new detached garage is shown, right above that.
That's theirs.
That's the detached garage of
Right.
the others right there.
Right.
And then, so imagine that garage is the same width as the front portion of the proposed garage. It's a 2-car garage.
But where does their house start?
Where's their house?
And their house is another 8 feet beyond that. And the front, it's going to line up roughly with,
The front of you.
just for simple
I-
purpose, a little bit behind tree 53.
I can show Google Earth.
Right.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just show Google. That might be better.
Google Earth it.
Is this better? This is 92 Inglewood. And this is the neighbor.
So that shows the garage, the motor court there.
Yeah.
If you could rotate it so it's
No,
just
it's
so it's
real-
in the same orientation. as-
yeah, that's all right. This is actually the way you drive into it.
But the most forward part there, if you see in the Carruthers home, is an attached garage. So it's a 1-stall attached garage where the pointer sort of pointing at. And then there's the 2-car detached garage near the side property line. And then there's a breezeway that connects the detached, the main body of the house.
Well, where's, is their bedroom, that back area to the left of? their
This is the
garage?
2-story part.
Yeah, that's the family room, and then there's a bedroom there's a nook that projects out with that octagonal roof. So the bedroom is right to the right of that.
Yeah. Yeah, so the tree we're talking about is this front one, right?
It's the one,
This-
Yeah, that's right. So how is that going to be an issue on the bedroom?
well, it's not,
That's not an issue on the bedroom.
I have a copy of the photo I sent the Carruthers today.
Yeah, that's all right.
You're
That's
talking
right.
about this
Yeah.
one, that one. Right. It's at the very front, at the edge of their You're talking about this tree, so they're already looking in there, unless that's.
No,
there's
that's
a window.
no.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah,
That's the tree
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, you're right.
I think there are other windows in the house that contain sleeping spaces, not just the one you're referring to.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry,
It's hard-
I don't mean
yeah.
to contradict you because you obviously
that's
know the
fine.
house better than I do.
Well, there's. if
But,
you look- yeah,
and,
just If you look at that drawing or the aerial, there's a big bay. It's hard to tell, but there's 3 dormers there along
Yeah.
that stretch of the
Yeah.
Right.
building. So the biggest one.
Oh, there
there's the
they are, right there.
smaller.
Yeah,
Can you move your pointer, circle the tree that we're talking about so I make sure I'm on the right page?
This one right here.
no.
Sally,
that-
tell
that's
me
it, that's
this
right,
is
no,
right. This is the
right
one
here.
that's
not
That's what
true.
I said. It's this one.
This-
No, it's this one.
I don't
It's that
think it is.
This
that
one.
you can
this
see
one.
the shadow of the Douglas fir. It is a little closer. Bring your pointer down. That's the shadow. So that's the tree. That's the heritage tree, but you're also talking about removing the oak next to it. And the combination of the two actually removes a lot of foliage from that airspace.
And why is the oak being removed, Sally?
It was dead or dangerous. The oak tree on that property was pretty bad shape.
Yeah, that's the one I thought, when I first went there, I thought that's the one we were talking about.
That
because it
would
was
be
so bad.
required to removed anyway.
Yeah. So the oak tree is being removed because of danger. The other one's being removed because of the driveway access.
Yeah,
That's
to
right.
and to minimize
That's the one in
the
question.
Yeah.
impacts
Didn't we
of
ask that
tree.
earlier? Were there other trees coming down?
Yeah,
So
we're
here's the- here's
we're
the-
not approving the.
Yeah, so the
right,
other
no, I
trees
know,
are
I
the
know.
one oak tree and the 3 palm trees were already issued. They already got a permit to remove those 3.
Yeah,
It's either, push this off or you guys come up with a solution, right?
Well, I think what was recommended is, we're happy to work with the Carruthers on any screening with planting. I wasn't proposing to plant on private property
Right, I know,
out there. It would be something that they are
course.
agreeable with.
of course.
So let me
And-
interrupt you for a second. So to shortcut it, one thing we can do, one thing we can craft is put in a condition that says the permit is approved, subject to the neighbor agreeing to a shielding plan. And if they don't, you come back and we approve it.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's half baked.
Right.
That's all I'm saying to you.
well,
It's half
if
baked.
we approve it that way, here's what happens. If you come to agreement, it's no issue and you've got approval. If not, then it comes back to us and then we either accept it the way it's
Right.
been worked out or not. But it runs the risk of a second hearing under those conditions, but otherwise it runs a risk of it guarantees a second hearing right now because we can't approve
More
it, not
time.
knowing that there's.
Just more time we
yeah.
shouldn't have to spend on this.
Right. So here's a couple things. First of all, the oak tree coming down comes down anyway because of the health of the tree. All right. So that's going to be something that happens without the commission's approval or not. The second thing that you consider, all right, so I've got some things to say. So do you have anything else to say? I'm going to close the public hearing otherwise.
The only thing when you were talking about having it approved conditionally, I think you could do that by just stipulating that there'd be 2 trees of a minimum height and of a vertical, shape.
Yeah, but I don't know how tall that has to be off the top of my head. So we just need some specs on that. And plus that could limit you in terms of the solution. If you found out that particular angle of the windows you're coming up with don't have a problem. So all right. So I'm going to close the public hearing session and unless you have anything else to say.
No, other than, this is a reasonable request. It's done, we're not asking, the owners are asking just for the basic use of their property, which includes garaging. We demonstrated that the options for the various garaging approaches, this is the least effective or least affecting of other oaks and trees on the property. So it's a good solution. And we're willing to, we'll be doing screening, we'll be doing some planting. And so it's, I understand
That
it's
doesn't-
others and I think we can work that,
Yeah, no one's blaming you. This is all taken 3 times the amount of time it should have taken because these guys or you didn't go talk to each neighbor. And you've got one neighbor on who said she didn't know a thing about it. So if you listen, for 8 years of doing this, I always say, have you talked to your neighbors?
Right.
This is not a criticism other than a neighbor should have just gone next door and gone knock, knock, knock.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, I'm gonna close the
I can make a motion.
Yeah,
Please.
Let
Yeah.
me say this thing, let me, before, so just to give it some context here. The alternative locations of the garage are bad, are worse, right?
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we're, not losing track of one of the reasons the street's going down is because of the location of the garage.
Totally agree.
And so, so it's more along the lines of, in the sort of concept of being a good neighbor. That's the intent of the motion, is about being a good neighbor. It's late good neighboring. So write that off, check that off in your head from now on, because there's a lot of sensitivity about privacy in an established property. That's maybe more than most people in new developments have, but in established property, it's going to be always on the top of mind. So Perry, what do you have?
Yeah, so I move that the planning commission find the project to be categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act under 15304 minor alterations to land, and find the request for a heritage tree removal for 26.8-inch heritage Douglas fir tree is not contrary to the purpose and intent of the general plan, and approves the heritage tree removal permit HTR 23-0002 at 92 Inglewood for the reasons outlined in the staff report, provided however that such approval is contingent upon the adjacent neighbor agreeing with a shielding plan.
That's not the right word, right? What's not shielding, screening. Yeah. All right, okay, got a motion, a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right, any comments? Are we ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the weather garages. I totally agree with why they're doing it. My issue is it now puts a huge amount of pressure on the Carruthers, on any neighbor to be part of the solution that they
Right.
should have been part of 6 months ago, whenever you guys all started.
Right,
I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, any other comments? All right, you want to take a roll call on this one?
Commissioner Narnsec,
Yes.
Commissioner Polito,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Lerner,
Yes.
Chair Lane.
Yes.
Oh, the motion passes with all of them saying yes.
All right, very good. So just for next time, the difference in this hearing was 20 minutes longer because of not talking to the neighbors, 25 minutes longer. So just for next time, do your neighbors. All right. Item 5C withdrawn, and we're probably going to see that back in a different way, but maybe not to us, but maybe to just to the.
Item 5C, 460 Adam Way withdrew their application to the planning commission and we are, it's a completely different project right now.
Right, very good.
We go to
Okay.
5D.
Great. So we're 5D and we get our annual visit from Sacred Heart Schools for the master plan. So we'll start with the same process. We'll see the staff report or hear the staff report, and then we'll open up for public comment. Yes.
Can I just add one thing? So I have a conflict on this item because I sit on a committee at Sacred Heart. So I'm happy to sit in and listen and then abstain on any vote. Same thing would be for the Dollinger and what have you field. So, or if you don't want me in the room, I'm happy to do that too.
Okay, that's fine. You can recuse yourself and not vote, but you can listen and no
And just listen in.
comments.
That's fine.
Yeah, don't smirk or anything.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no tipping of your hands.
Exactly.
right. All right, with that, then let's go ahead and open up public comment on, staff overview on 5D.
So this is a two-part update this year. One is the master plan, which comes to us annually. Typically, the master plan folds in all the projects and, the projected projects that they want to do. They have to talk about their annual traffic updates, and they have been, the Sacred Heart has been very good partners with the town. They bring it to the commission every year. This year's update has some couple of current and future projects. Actually, I want to open their master plan. It has the traffic monitoring and the other details that would be of interest to the commission too.
And Rhonda,
Um,
just to make clear. I
Yes,
separated these two on the agenda for a specific purpose.
correct.
One, we could have normally, is something that, since it's a plan, there's a plan step and then it's an approval step, and it would have been okay to combine them. But from a standpoint of just sort of transparency and making a highlight of it, I separated it into two parts on both of these so that the plan part, even if you approve the plan, you can still vote against the second
CUP.
part of it.
Mhm.
It's just to make sure that everyone in the neighborhood and others were called out on the specific items. So with
Right.
that, Rhonda, go ahead.
And also, I think to add to Chair Lane's update is that you would need to make two separate motions. One is for the master plan acceptance and the other one is for the CUP. The master plan for 2023, we have the applicants with us today. They are stating that they had the enrollment that was down in 2020 went up again this year. The TDM monitoring program, they walked us through the entire site, showed us their very sophisticated system of how they manage the 6,000 vehicle trips that they're permitted to manage into the site. They are actually counting 5,163 trips today, this year, sorry. And we have traffic engineers that have attested to this data. What you see is in the attached report are license plate reader camera locations and data that comes from that over a period of a couple of days. And staff has been able to work with the applicant and the engineers, and we support and we accept the traffic TDM program data for 2023. In terms of the update itself, we worked with the applicants to try and include as much as the programming efforts for this calendar year. And it is part of your packet, and I would like to just bring it up for our review. I'm sorry. There it is, I think. The facilities are talking about, and this is just mostly in speculation in the order in your staff report. In fall 2023, they want to think about backup generators for campus-wide buildings. And the summer 2023 project that is going to be heard tonight is the protective netting along both the fields. And in the future, they want to think about additions of small classrooms, and they are exploring some the relocation of the wireless antenna that's currently on the town's tower, water tower. They want to try and relocate that as feasible as possible. And they're also thinking about assessing potential housing locations on the site, which the town is very appreciative of. With that, I end my staff report. I would recommend accepting the annual plan, annual master plan for Sacred Heart Schools.
All right, any questions, of staff? Go ahead and open up the public comment and start with the applicant. Good to see you again.
They have a.
Good evening.
I have to admit, I cost you one more car on your property when I did the tour.
Read the license plate. I am Mike Dwyer representing Sacred Heart Schools, and I just want to thank you for allowing us to be here this evening and for all the support you've given us throughout the years. Very important for us to be partners with the town, and we appreciate that, and the new planning department as well. So the 2022-23 school year was more of a transition year for us in that people were trying to find their way back to normalcy. And in so doing, it actually increased our on-campus events, which I was very worried about accelerating our traffic counts, but it did not. We were able to manage it well. We have different programs that help us with that, with buses, vans, and carpools, riding bicycles, walking, and that kind of thing. So I'm very happy with that result. But that's one thing that we've seen that's increasing the traffic onto our campus and therefore onto the city streets as well. We concentrated our efforts getting the classes, as I said, back to normal. But what interfered with it. And if you look at the image on the screen, it's got us with water following a rain and cloudy
Yeah.
skies. We
Surprised.
had quite the battle with the storms. And if you could, let's see,
Yeah, some of your storm pictures really surprised me. I didn't
you
see
saw
that.
those pictures,
Yeah.
yeah. They were quite remarkable. We lost from December 31st until the last windstorm, we lost 7 trees. We were lucky that none of them fell on anyone.
Mhm.
We had to do 2 shelter in places because the winds were so severe and fierce. They took off some of the redwood branches from high up. And
Wow.
they acted as spears
Oh,
as
wow.
they
Oh.
were blown across.
Mm.
Probably one of them was about 100 feet and the other one was more like 30 feet.
Wow.
Both went into and hit a car owned by the same person on 2 different sides of campus. It
Uh-oh.
was
Oh, that's a,
one of the
oh, man.
the spears was through the windshield.
I bet they've never won the lottery,
Yeah.
though. Golly.
And it was one of those things where their daughter was driving the wife's car that
Oh,
day.
God.
So anyway,
What are the chances?
Yeah, really.
you've seen the pictures, so I don't need to show you the rest of them. For COVID-19, we still are experiencing some cases, but they are far less severe and they are far less often, which at this point, it's not impacting our operation. And so that we're thankful for. We continue to follow the CDC and the county guidelines on how to deal with this pandemic. For, he doesn't know what slide I'm on, but I'm already up to the major projects. Yeah. So, which was fine. I was just covering all the material. So I just decided to toss this picture in here. This was when we were doing construction on one of the buildings a few years ago, and we put the basement in, and this is to demonstrate, well, we don't have any projects coming up this year.
Right.
What we are working on is a minor project of protective netting for Gavello Fields and along Emily Avenue
Mhm.
and Dollinger Field along Park Lane, which I will get into more detail during the CUP.
Right.
But our concern is for the general public with the lacrosse balls that go over a 4-foot fence.
Right.
And we had no idea of this until someone reported it hitting their car. So
Oh.
we acted quickly on getting plans together. The new projects that we're looking for, as explained by staff, are possibly getting generators for, it would have to be all the buildings. You can't just pick and choose which buildings you want or need. And we're not sure what type, so this is really just a study. I'm very cognizant of the fact that diesel generators cause a lot of air pollution, and we would need quite a few of them. They also require a lot of maintenance. So we're looking at maybe a solar generated backup system that can help us through some of these outages that we had this past year. I think we lost 5 or 6 school days
Hmm.
as a result of the power outages and storm damage.
Does that affect the residents on the site too?
Yes,
Okay.
it does. Yes, all of them were were without power as well. It was pretty much a catastrophic outage. The entire area was out,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
thousands at a time. And we're on 2 different grids on the school.
Oh, wow.
So when we could have one side up and the other side down.
Yeah.
But we can't operate that way.
Right.
So one of the other things that we've discussed is the need for a small, maybe administration or classroom building, mostly at the lower school, because what happens is we're not trying to add enrollment. Programming is increased. And so the parent population expects certain programs because one school has it, they expect another school to have it. So programmatically, we add to the programs. So therefore we have to add to the space.
Yeah.
And to add to the space, you've got to have place for administrators so we can designate other space for teaching. We've gotten pretty creative. The next one is the move of the cell tower. We've had some complaints from families about their concerns about electromagnetic field. We've had the tower looked at 3 different times in the last 10 years or 8 years. And all of the reports say that it's within the federal guidelines. As a matter of fact, it's like 1% of the federal guidelines, and their guidelines are pretty high, and you have to actually be in front of the thing 8 hours a day for their specifications to even come into contact, not the fallout.
Mhm.
So we're still looking at it though. One of the problems is the tower management company that we engaged years ago is unwilling to move on the project. So it's tough for us
Yeah.
to get going. They did contact staff at one point and then that fell off.
Probably ran out of money during the shutdown or something.
Yeah. And then we're looking at future ADUs. It's just the problem is we don't have a lot of space on campus
Yeah.
that doesn't have heritage trees or a building or a playing field. So we're getting a little bit creative in thinking forward when the nun population becomes less and less and the need for their housing becomes less and less. So there's portions that we can gain because they belong to the school, but the actual retirement home belongs to the nuns.
Mhm.
So it's a pretty significant area where they are in apartments and a small house that we built for them. But again, their population is waning. Next slide.
Those
please.
are all one-story places also, too, aren't they now?
The gatehouse is a 2-story,
Mm.
which is the house a modular that we built for them. And then 2 of the apartments are 2 stories.
Oh, really?
They
Okay.
house 4 sisters each. And then we've got studio units as well.
All right.
And I already talked about the storm and the closure, so we can move on. And the next 4 slides are some of the damage that,
Yeah.
some of the things you saw. One of them looks like Sleepy Hollow there.
Yeah. It does look like a Halloween picture.
The interesting thing here is these are the bioswales that, of course, were required
Yeah,
for the town water retention, and they did their job.
yeah,
And they look like you could go out there and swim easily.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like a lake.
it worked. It did not overflow. It collected, it drained, it did what it was supposed to. Our pervious concrete worked as well at the lower
Good.
school. We did not have any pooling on any hard surfaces.
Wow, great.
Did have leaky buildings, but that's another.
Yeah,
Next slide. There, that's the other bioswale near Park Lane.
wow.
And next slide. So we talked about, staff talked about the cap. We're 13% below, which is the same as last year. Seems to be a little bit of a trend. We're hoping to have our programs increase that by adding buses and vans and other type of service. Next, please. So neighbor relations remain strong. We are on speed dial with a few of them, not me to them, but them to me. So we're very reactive if there's an issue, and if there's something that we think will impact them ahead of time, we'll either send a letter or go and knock on their door or give them a call. Next, please. Our enrollment cap is 1196. Our projection is 1195, 1196. When I wrote this, it was about 1195. I think it's gone to 1196. Just a reminder about admissions. It's more of an art than a science. It's like throwing paper wads at the wall and seeing how many will stick, because we put out offers. We don't get 100% acceptance. The problem is if we don't put out enough offers and then we don't get enough acceptances, and then we're under budget.
Right.
So I applaud our admissions department lately that they've done an excellent job in the last 5 years with projections.
Right.
That's it for me.
All right.
Thank you for your time, and we'll talk about the CUP after.
Any questions?
No
Questions? Really good. You always, you've always set the standard for the traffic monitoring for sure, and also in terms of community outreach and just staying on top of issues. We've used you as the benchmark for every school that we have come in contact with. So I really appreciate that, continuing to work on that.
All right, thank you.
All right, anyone else here to speak on the item? Anyone online?
Don't see anybody online.
Yeah, I don't see anyone either. All right, good. Then I'll open and close the public comment section and then bringing it back there for discussion and action as appropriate by the commission. I'm fine with the plan. It's a good plan. So I can move it if you want. All right. I move the planning commission find the projected proposed, oop, I've got the wrong one, I think.
And
Yeah.
we reelected you.
Yeah. No, that was the right one.
Want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead. I thought I had the right one.
I move that the planning commission find the project proposed categorically exempt from further CEQA review pursuant to section 15301, parentheses, existing facilities, close paren. And except for filing the 2023 annual master plan update and TDM monitoring report from Sacred Heart Schools.
Yeah, I did have that one. I think the thing that threw me off was project rather than plan. I was looking for the word plan. All right, good. Good reading of the agenda that I had in front of me. All right, I second it since go ahead. Have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Polito,
Approved.
Chair Lane,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Abstain.
Commissioner Lerner,
Yes.
Commissioner Narnsick.
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
All right, very good. Now we get the next part of the whole process. You want to go over that for us? Rod, are you on that one too? All right.
So we're moving on to the second part of the Sacred Heart School Master Plan for the conditional use permit on the protective netting on both athletic courts. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Dollinger and Gavello. Is that correct? There you go. The location as shown on your campus plan is as seen in the screen in front of us. The Gavello Field is along Amelie Avenue and Dollinger is along Park Lane to the north. The request for this project immediately is to propose the netting around the athletic fields for safety purposes. And the netting along Dollinger Field, as you can see in this plan, the blue is the 10 feet netting and the green is going to be it's going to be at 20 feet in height. The proposal states that it is a removable netting. It is going to be a removable netting. Is that correct? That's what the intent is. This is part one of this field, and then part two is for the field along Amelie Way. And this is where, when we were touring the campus, staff noticed that the activities and the programming are very valuable to the school, but it is next to the field, and this would provide some safety elements to the operations of the school. Historically, what's happened with the master plan update in the 2010 master plan update has accepted the fields in the location that they are. But in the current PFS zone, it doesn't meet the setback. So what it is right now, today in 2023, is a legal non-conforming structure in use, which they can legally continue to operate for the entirety of this approval. If they don't operate it for 6 months, the non-conforming use goes away. They can't, function as such. And if the staff's review and how the zoning code is interpreted is any enclosure that's around the athletic field has to maintain certain setbacks and it has to maintain certain heights. That's what the athletic court provisions for the zoning code is. What the planning commission can approve is, if they approve the netting court as proposed, you would be approving a variance for the increased height.
Right.
And you would be approving the CUP for this requested project. The variance requires specific findings for each of the courts. I have made, and the variance findings are for the height of the nets. And I have made my staff assessment of these findings for what is happening with the proposed location, and looking at the operations of the school. Staff would like to recommend approval of the variance and the CUP so they can continue to use the athletic fields. We recognize that the fields are part of their operational history, and we want to support it in the manner that the zoning code would allow. And these are the parameters that it would be. So I would like to conclude this, the long drawn findings to request the commission to approve this CUP as it is proposed to us by the applicant for the increased height and the variance for the increased height to allow operations of these two fields at
All right.
this for 2023, yes.
All right, thank you. Any questions of staff? I'll go ahead and open up the public comment section and you're back up.
Thank you, Mike Dwyer, once again for Sacred Heart Schools. If I could ask that you bring up the Dollinger Field, which is on Park Lane, where it has the partial netting. Yes, that one right there. So the blue is probably not going to work out as we had planned because there are trees in the way. So what we've done is come up with an alternate plan to divert the netting around the trees. Wherever we're too close to the trees, we're going to skip over it and allow the trees to help us have the netting
Mm.
and the filtering. And then if it becomes an issue, Park Lane isn't much of an issue, but if it becomes one, we'll put temporary movable type netting at both areas wherever the trees are.
Mhm.
And then if you could go to Gavello Field, please. The next one. That is a long stretch. It's got McBain right about where that tree is, where the fence comes inside the property. We have a significant amount of trees there as well. We will skip the netting at that area and then again, use the temporary movable netting as necessary. We don't relish having to spend over $100,000 to put this netting on the field, but I would rather do that than hurt someone or damage property. As I stated earlier, a car was hit. And then while staff was taking a tour on the campus with us, they saw the students jumping over the fence, going out into the traffic lane to get the soccer balls that went over the fence. So this is one of those things I think is an imperative, and I am thankful that you are looking towards an approval, even if it be a conditional one, for us to get a variance on the two issues, one being the setbacks and the other being the height. I do have Simon Perrott from Colony Landscape, who is in charge of the project and is very familiar. So if there are any technical questions, he can help out.
I don't have any questions. I've toured the site. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
The existing netting that's along mostly Park Lane, black netting with black poles. You can barely see the netting. You can see the poles. But did I read somewhere in here that these are we're expecting you to raise and lower the netting, or?
No, what we do with all of our sports netting is that we have it in sleeves in the ground, should there be an issue that we ever need to move it. So maybe an emergency situation or access to the field by emergency responders or anything like that. It's not a permanent fixture cemented into the ground, but it is secure for safety. But that's how it's designed. And Simon could answer a little bit more because that was the design developed before I even got to the school.
All right, so that's the portable aspect of it, or the,
Correct.
yeah, I was thinking it was like a blind when I was reading that. Like would go up or
But
down
it's-
depending on the,
yeah,
yeah.
it's the posts that.
All
can
right, so
be
it's
moved.
similar to the ones that are there.
So what's the reason that some nets only have to be 10 feet high?
So that I cannot answer.
Come on up and introduce yourself and, all right. And his meter runs now at this point.
Where the goal
It was
is.
free up until now.
Where the goal is, right?
My name's Simon Parrott. I'm with Colony Landscape. So yeah, the idea with the 12-foot netting along Emily is to match what is along Park. That's really why we went to 12 feet, 10 feet over
And what's the game that's played there? Lacrosse.
Younger kids.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was watching two lacrosse players play towards the street and I was very quickly driving by them. I said, okay, don't stay there long. Yeah, no, it was in the Corvette. Very good. So, all right, does that answer your question, Bob?
So all of them, Emily's going to be 12 feet, and that's what this netting that's already up on Park Lane is that same height? Because I couldn't tell. Okay.
Anything else?
identical design, yeah.
Bob, anything else?
No.
All right.
I mean, the netting the poles are the only thing that shows. You can barely see the
Yeah.
netting.
Netting, yeah. And then if the wind were blowing too much, you could take them down, I guess, if you needed to, for safety. All right, any other questions? All right, that's good. You earned your money. Thank you. All right, so I'm ready to go on this one. I got it.
Reading the right document.
I had the right document last time. I just didn't know it was the right document. I'm at the planning commission, find the project proposed, this project categorically exempt from the further CEQA review pursuant to section 15301 existing facilities and section 15303, the new construction or conversion of small structures, and approve the conditional use permit to include approval of a fence height variance for the proposed protective netting at Dollinger and Cavello Fields of Sacred Heart Schools campus and at 150 Valparaiso Avenue based on the findings in the staff report, which was a very thorough staff report, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, moved.
I move.
Moved and seconded. All right, Perry seconds. Perry seconds. All right, let's go with, you want to go with a voice?
Roll
voice-
call, yes.
voice
Chair
vote?
Lane,
Yeah, yes.
Commissioner Lamb as abstaining.
Perry,
Commissioner Polito,
Yes.
Commissioner Lerner,
Yes.
this motion passes. Congratulations.
All right, Perry,
I think you might have missed one.
Perry didn't vote.
Add me to the
Yes,
list.
you missed him. So Perry.
Commissioner Nancy, sorry.
It's okay. It happens all the time.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's
Did
okay.
I,
I made some
can we do this?
The good news, Rhoda, good news, Rhoda, is next month you won't have to remember his name.
Yeah,
I wrote you down a second. It looks like a yes. Commissioner Narensec, I'm sorry.
And that's the thank you you get.
I'm so-
All right.
My sincere apologies. like-
You're irrelevant already. Oh, you'll be on the next minutes. Don't.
Yeah.
We
worry.
want
We'll
you
have to
here for
prove
the
you
next
time.
2.
All right, item 5F, Menlo School Master Plan Update, 50 Valparaiso Avenue, and we got same format on this, two aspects of it. One is the overall annual plan, and the other is a breakout on an item that they need separate approval on. So go ahead and introduce yourself, by the way, or introduce us.
I know.
Rhoda.
Hello,
I,
everyone.
yeah.
Good evening, Chair Lane and Commissioners. My name is Sean Manalo and I'm a consulting associate planner via M Group. And this is my first planning commission. So
yes.
very nice to meet everyone and looking forward to working with
You all
you.
know that Sung got a new position, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. So we have 2 separate actions before you for Menlo School at 50 Valparaiso. The first is to accept the 2023 Menlo School annual update, and the second is to grant a conditional use permit to allow for a new infant play area. With renovations to 2 modular buildings for an existing preschool and childcare facility. The staff report, like the Sacred Heart items, is divided into 2 parts to reflect the 2 separate recommendations. Onto the staff, onto the, I'll also introduce the Director of Operations, Lauren Arms with us, who's with us today. He was gracious to give us a site visit earlier this month. He'll be available to answer any questions about the annual update or the proposed project.
Okay.
So first to the master plan. The municipal code requires all private schools in the PFS zone to prepare annual updates for review and presentation and acceptance by the planning commission. And consistent with that, the planning, Menlo School has come to the planning commission every year since 2000 with an annual update. And for this year, the main takeaways are that the Menlo School is back to full on-campus instruction and is below target in its AM and PM target traffic counts, as well as its parking utilization rates, which is wonderful. Additionally, Menlo School is back on track to meet the enrollment numbers to comply with their conditional use permit for the upcoming 2023 and 2024 school year. Menlo School also continues to follow through on a 2021 Planning Commission recommendation to provide clear and consistent neighborhood outreach to address traffic and noise concerns on campus with the community. And they've cited website updates and a local event they hosted just last month to that effect. With that, that concludes part 1 of our presentation.
All right. All right. Anything else? That's it?
That's it.
All right, good. Any questions, staff? All right, then we'll hear from the applicant. I'll open the public comment, the public comment section. Thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commission, Sally, I know Sally, and I know the planning staff as well. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Lauren Arms. I'm the Director of Operations for Menlo School. I don't have a presentation, so I'm going to keep it pretty brief. We have the luxury of working with you for probably the last 20 years.
Yes.
And basically completely rebuilding the campus.
Yep.
Every building minus the mansion is new within that period of time. And the mansion is essentially new because it was basically, destroyed in the Loma Prieta earthquake and rebuilt thereafter. And then there were multiple projects along the way that the entire infrastructure is virtually brand new.
Yep.
So we're fortunate in that regard. And because we're fortunate in that regard, we only have one really large project left on our docket, and that is the Carton Athletic Fields, which we would like to do. We own that land 50-50 with the college. We used to be one institution up until 1994. There are many athletic facilities we still share today. Our pool is actually on the college campus presently for our exclusive use, in fact. And so Carton we would love to do, but we don't have any thing planned for the near future, and certainly not planned for the next year, which this master plan covers. So I just wanted to talk about things that have already been mentioned. As you probably know, we've been over our enrollment for the last couple years. We weren't greatly over our enrollment, but it was just a case, as Michael described, we very much used the same process. We generally know our acceptance rate when we put out offers. And I'm sure we have a buffer so that we don't go over. We believe that word got out that we did so well during COVID that our percentage of acceptances was much, much higher than normal. And so that is how we ended up being too high. We are back at 795. However, our plan indicates that we do plan to come forward probably in August or September, asking for increased enrollment. The reason that we are is in large part because we turn so many people away. I think we probably turn as many away as we accept. And of course, there's enormously deserving people who are being turned away. And Menlo School is, I think, incredibly good at taking kids who otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity from other, less fortunate neighborhood circumstances and such. And so, it's hard to turn them away. So there'll be more on that in the next couple months. Peak traffic morning, peak traffic afternoon, we were under both numbers. Morning's always the closest, as you might imagine. We run buses, home to school programs, 5 different buses. We run the shuttles to and from the train center. We have commute programs. We have incentives associated with those, carpooling, biking, other alternative forms of transportation and such. And when we have to, we rally our community and they respond. So let's see, neighbors. We had our annual neighbor meeting. I believe that almost without exception, we have fantastic relationships with our neighbors. We do have one sports field in particular that does get some feedback. It's understandably so. Some of the problems are what Mike's trying to deal with, that balls fly over fences. But outside of that, we had only one neighbor attend this year, which is an all-time low. And that neighbor is one of our most gracious, friendly, loves the school, and had nothing but great things to say. And one of our neighbors that has been one of our probably critics in the past is actually using our facilities virtually every weekend
Mhm.
because he belongs in a musical group.
Mhm.
And he comes on campus and plays with that musical group,
Mm.
which just started this year.
Mm.
So we're trying to improve our relationship that way as well. That is really the extent of the master plan piece.
All right.
Again, we've built our facilities. We are presently looking at different alternatives for Carton. We've been looking at different alternatives for 15 years.
Mhm.
And we will continue to do so.
All right.
Don't let Chop talk to him.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, very good. Yeah, the history of these two schools has been fantastic in terms of outreach and traffic control and methodology, and just ever since I've been on the commission, these two, the two of you, you and Sacred Heart both have been the model for how we wish every school in the community operated. It's been fantastic. So with that, if there's no discussion, I just need a motion. And I don't see two motions in the packet. Go ahead.
I'll do the motion because it's the shortest motion I've seen in this
Right.
group so far. I move that the planning commission accept the Menlo School at 50 Valparaiso Avenue. I think it means accept the Menlo
That-
School
Master
master
plan.
plan
That's
Master
master
plan.
plan.
based on the findings in the staff report.
Yeah, and that's the wording I was looking for in the last one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Second, is there a second? All right, you can't second.
Why not?
Oh, you-
I had it for Sacred Heart, not for.
Oh,
Menlo.
okay. I thought
He
you- I
abstains
thought you
from
said for
second.
both. I
No,
thought you said
no.
for both. Okay. All right, good. Go ahead, second. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Polito,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Narensec,
Yes.
Oh. man,
Commissioner Lerner,
it's so
Yes.
close.
Pressure.
Chair Lane.
Yes.
The motion passes for master plan update. Thank you.
All right. Now the next part.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we are. Okay, the proposed project seeking conditional use permit this evening is for the renovation of two existing modular buildings. And the conversion of a paved drop-off area for an infant play area at the childcare center facilities located here at the southeast corner of the campus. The center is only available for school faculty and staff and will result in a net overall increase of 3 infants served. I will add that the project will result in a net loss of 6 parking spaces. And while the PFS zone does not require off-street parking, staff recognize that the impact would be minimal because the service is limited to existing faculty. It's not open to the public at all. And it's not anticipated to generate new trips or parking. And the annual update confirms that parking utilization of 15% below the target, which should signal that the project should accommodate the loss of parking stalls and the increase of children served. Other than that, the project is consistent with the town zoning ordinance, and the town arborist had no comments. We were able to make both findings to required of a conditional use permit. And that concludes my presentation on this item.
All right. You have anything on this one? Whether, no question from, go ahead.
Southwest.
Yes.
Southeast, just so you know. You're not touching the square footage of the facilities at all.
Mm.
You're just moving some walls. You're required per square foot per kid
Right.
for different areas of the building, sleeping quarters, feeding areas, play areas, playgrounds.
Mhm.
So we have to make sure that we move walls around such that each of those areas has the square footage required. On the playground itself, we're putting one of those poured rubber. It'll be poured right over the asphalt that is already pre-existing. It's the rubbery, softy bunch, bouncy stuff that'll be super protective of the kids.
Mhm.
As mentioned, the only kids served are staff members of the school.
Mhm.
We make a joke, but I think it's probably true that we have COVID babies.
No.
So people were home, people were bored, people had babies.
Yeah.
So we have more babies and anticipating more babies. We're only increasing 3 because that's all we can increase given the square footage that we have. Both buildings are already used for childcare. We're just moving walls. And then the other improvements, and they're very significant and they're much more significant than the walls, is better air conditioning that's more environmentally friendly, more efficient, LED lighting throughout the entirety of both spaces, accessibility improvements, van accessible parking, making sure all the sidewalks and the ramps meet all the current codes, that type of thing. So it's just strictly improvements.
All right, great. Any questions? Any
And we
questions?
intentionally stayed away from our beautiful trees.
Uh-huh.
We have
Thank you.
many, many trees around these buildings that we made sure we stayed far from.
All right, great. You have a question?
Yeah, the building and the air conditioning, all that is a no-brainer. What do you already have a big playground fenced in behind the L-shaped building. This is an infant playground?
This is an infant play.
I don't quite under-
Exclusively in one building. I think the regulations require separation of the age groups.
But what does infant mean? I mean, babies can't run around the playground.
And then there's a junior preschool and a senior preschool.
So it's a 2 and 3 year, 2 and
Three different age groups.
2 and 3 year olds and 4 and 5 year olds. Yeah,
It's
okay,
just like school, they get
Right.
promoted
Right.
from the one age group up to the next
Right.
age group.
right.
And that's all heavily, heavily regulated.
Yeah.
The care versus student ratio is all regulated.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to be in line of sight. You have to be able to see the children at all times.
Yeah.
Right.
All of those things.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
again, it's, for us, this is, one, it's great for the staff just because it's great, but two, it's a competitive advantage, right?
Right,
As a school, you're trying to beat the other schools out for the absolute best teachers.
right.
Would you be a teacher at a school that offers on-site childcare versus one that doesn't?
Yeah.
Pretty good chance you would.
Right,
And it decreases, it would decrease the traffic because
right.
they come on site, they stay on site, they're able to visit their kid during the day. If there's a woman's breastfeeding or whatever,
Right.
they're able to do that on site rather than travel off and back. So it's good from that perspective as well.
Good. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll close the public. Is there anyone else here to speak on the item? All right,
Nobody online.
yeah, good. Can you pull that map down so I can see thank you. All right, then I'll just need a motion.
I'll do the last one.
Oh, yeah. Good, all right.
Yay.
And Randy's
No,
gonna
no,
second
no,
it.
no.
And Randy's gonna second.
Just
because
don't count on me to vote.
Yeah.
Maintain my relevance. to the
Yes.
agenda.
The last shred.
I move that the planning commission find that this project is categorically exempt from further environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15301, existing facilities, and approve the conditional use permit to allow for the expansion of childcare services, including an infant play area and associated building modifications at Menlo School at 50 Valparaiso Avenue, based on the findings in the staff report.
What-
Second.
What an amazing last.
That is.
Last.
Go out-
Mr. Culling.
Go out with a bang.
Mr.
You're
Cullen.
going out with a big motion. That's just big time.
Commissioner Narrensen.
Mr. Razik,
Yes.
last day of his term is tonight, and he's not re-upping, so. Otherwise, he would have been on the commission for another 4 years, which I think he was really looking forward to. Okay, good.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Lerner.
Did you get to vote on this?
I did,
Oh, yeah, good.
twice.
Yes, he
All right, good.
voted first. Commissioner Lerner,
Yes.
Commissioner Polito,
Yes.
Chair Lane,
Yes.
the CUP passes. Congratulations.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you very much for the hard work too, and the absolute great management of the site. Thank you. Yes, go ahead. Come up front. Come on. And I'll open up the public comments.
Saying this after you voted.
Yes.
But they were nice enough to come out and spend probably an hour and a half with me, see the project for the site. And really really develop our relationship, and I
Great.
appreciate that. And I just wanted to commend them. They're new to Atherton, but the quality of the report is just really, really
Great. All right, that's good news. All right, thank you. All right, very good. All right, there'll be an envelope for you in the back. All right. With that, item 6, the monthly, see a staff report. You got something on monthly tree, letter discussion? What's the story on that?
Yes, so we heard from Carol, one of the residents in Atherton who brought up
Right.
this in the public comment section 2 months ago. She wrote to me and she wanted to request the commission if she can speak to you at this point. It's not a public hearing. It's up to the commission to allow her to speak now, but the purpose of this report is for the commission to give Sally, the town arborist, feedback on what exists as the monthly tree reporting condition in today's ordinance, and give her feedback as to what could be amended, and she can bring back an ordinance as a formal hearing in the next few meetings. So this is more guidance to staff as to what we can do to update it and respond to the public comment that came to us. a
Yeah,
couple of
well,
months ago.
I thought we'd already done that, but you were out when we did it, so.
Yes,
So the idea was to come up with a reduced requirement rather than monthly, quarterly updates, because it's a big burden on the developers and the property owners for the monthly. And particularly since, not a lot happens most of the time. We had a monthly when we first started because there was issues that were going on where people were developing the land and the trees would suddenly die, and oh darn, did we grade there, and oh shoot, I didn't know that backhoe would hurt the roots type thing. But then we gotten feedback that it's really a burden. So while you were gone, we asked staff to talk to you about coming up with a reduced requirement.
Okay.
All right. And that has to do with the fact that, one, we haven't seen a lot of misuse of the procedure. So it's actually putting too much of a burden on existing people who are following the rules because of situations we had years ago where people weren't.
Right.
Is there any issue that you know of in term, I mean, has there been any abuse that you know of in terms of the reporting, or any issues that you know of in terms of?
I mean, there's always issues on sites. They need to record it if there is one on those monthly reports. If we do reduced monthly reports,
Right.
then I will have to visit the sites more, which I think is worse. But
Well,
because when I visit the site and I see an issue, then I either have to stop, we put a hold on issuing permits until the issues are resolved, or we can even place a stop work order.
so it can be set up in such a way that the quarterly mandatory is reduced, but if there are any issues, there has to be a monthly. So is there a way to come up with a
I don't
method
think
for
so.
that?
I don't, because then the arborist would still have to visit the site monthly to see if there's issues. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
The contractors typically won't call their arborist. Well, they're supposed to call the arborist if there is an issue. But I find that they don't call them out, and then,
No.
yeah.
So Sally,
Because again, if you call them out, then they're charging a fee.
so
It's gonna be less than writing the report, sorry.
so you visit every construction site monthly? Now,
I currently don't.
because you
This is
rely
kind
on,
of a background, but I do visit sites a lot, but I don't, it's not a requirement that I visit monthly.
so you rely on the monthly report.
Yes, and there's 102 sites currently that do the monthly reports, because these are the sites that are we only require monthly reports for full site developments or very large remodels or very large grading and drainage. We don't require monthly reports for ADUs, accessory structures, pools, landscaping. It's only for the full sites. And I can tell you right now, there's 102 full sites right now.
And so
So-
you're saying if we terminate, if we went to quarterly report, you would,
I would visit more often, which I don't know if that's good or bad.
So the question will be, the question I have then, is there a way to set it up for quarterly reports? And then you randomly choose sites to visit, and then if there's an issue, they automatically will be reverted to monthly. So the penalty for not doing good reporting is you go to monthly and you stay at monthly the rest of the term.
I mean, I think that's fine.
That would be,
well, yeah, I mean, it's not a penalty for for bad reporting. It's a
Yeah.
penalty for getting caught
Yeah,
doing something they're not
Right,
supposed to
right.
do.
But it's a penalty for not for conforming.
Right.
If we could set up that way, that would make it easy for you, from the standpoint of monitoring. And the downside would be if you don't comply, it's going to get really worse. How about that? Something along those lines? Can you look into that?
Yeah, I'll look into that.
All right. Cool. All right. That's, I'm not going to open up the public comment on this because I'm not comfortable with that being noticed as a public comment section. But I think that direction will be good for you and be good for somebody who wants to comply.
So when I bring it back, will that be open for public?
Yes.
Yes. If you bring it back as an ordinance, it would be public
Right.
hearing.
Right. And then it would go to the commission for action.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. The next one is commissioner reports. Any commissioner report? Yeah, I've got a commissioner report. First of all, I got a couple things that's on the highlight. I don't know if you saw this, this Daily Post, which shows where cities stand, getting approval of state housing plan. And it shows that, that Santa Clara County and San Mateo County are working on draft number 2 and Santa Clara is out for the first review, and the Palo Alto and Portola Valley are the second draft going to the state. Third draft is Atherton, Belmont, East Palo Alto, Menlo Park, San Carlos, and Woodside. And sent in the third is Los Altos, and then done is Redwood City, Mountain View, Los Altos Hills. So it's a good article if you hadn't read it. And so it's online if you want it. I brought the original one if you want to have this. And then the other one was I was a question about the grand jury reports on Atherton and Portola Valley and Woodside. Any update from staff on what happened as a result of that, and how many lawyers we're going to need? If we're losing a lawyer on the committee, so the commission, so.
Well,
just-
the grand jury report is, the staff is working in the background to respond to all the requests that they are, that we are required to actually respond to. However, in the same parallel timeline, the housing element is
Yes.
progressing. So it's a divide and conquer.
Right.
Amongst the planning staff, we have a bunch of us who you see and meet here, current planners, and we have a host of other senior planners and principal planners who are doing the ordinance and policy work. We kind of, we have direction from Jeff Bradley as to how to tackle what, and we are running parallel tracks. And the city manager has given us a deadline and guidance for when we have to respond. We have a response deadline, I believe. I'm unclear, I can look it up, maybe September. I can.
I was surprised by the grand jury's purview over this. How did that get, how does that work for the grand jury to be involved with this at all?
I do not
Yeah,
know the
so that's-
background of
That's
that. This is the first time. I'm
It's a
seeing
civil
it.
grand jury? Okay, so how's that? How's that? Is it just because it's an ordinance, it's a law and they're saying, why aren't you following the law?
The DA must have called.
Yeah. Probably the attorney general. Okay, great.
The deadline to respond is September 6th.
All right, good. Well, there's, and then I got this thing. I think I'm just gonna get it to you guys. This one goes down here. Ha! And I made sure they're not cold, so you can't drink it now.
I was
Yeah,
gonna show up in a
all right,
costume
all
today
right.
just to-
Both,
Okay.
both
Is it
Randy and,
Tesla?
yeah, I know. Yeah, both Randy and Perry have been commissioned, Randy's been here for 2 terms. And there's a 2-term limit, except for some people who fell in the gap during COVID and got nominated again. But both of you have done an outstanding job. You've always had good insight, great humor, and I know your developer stuff. You've always been on the case in terms of how we stay aligned with the legal stuff, and you're always showing up. I mean, there have been meetings where, there were a rotating third person, and you and I were like holding down the fort. So I really appreciate the both of you for just being part of this whole process. And I know that.
Leadership.
Yeah.
You run a great meeting.
Well, thank you. But Mr. Tonelli's coming back. Yes. Yeah, I talked to him about getting, so he's coming back. So I'm expecting to see your faces back on the panel,
Someday.
I made a little gift to his retirement.
All right. All right, well, good. Well, I want you to know you're both appreciated and you're both going to be missed and great job. Both of you. All right.
Very nice.
All right. All right. Anything else? Any other commissioners?
Yeah, I just have one thing.
Yeah.
We have a number of restrictions and qualifications and whatever, rules, many of which need to be looked at.
You're talking about ordinances?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and some of them would be in your area because I'm not sure we need to have as many variances. Maybe we need different tree protection zone numbers to reduce that. But some of them have to do with how the property's developed. For example, I think the 175-foot frontage is ridiculous. When we have, I forget how many, we have lots of properties
Yeah,
that don't have.
hundreds below that, yeah.
So what's the process to make these, to look at some of these things and make those changes?
It would be an ordinance update that staff would have to look at all the parcels and bring to the commission for an ordinance update for.
And then
all
it
of
goes
these.
to the council?
Yeah, the subdivision requirement of the lot width is already codified now, and we have to look at that chapter and relook at what's existing in terms of the parcel size and what would be something that the commission would support, and any feedback to that extent would just then open up the research. We're doing all that research for the housing element anyway, so we have the data. And we'll have to approach the planners will have to analyze it and bring back an ordinance and options, and then you give us feedback, and then we bring it for adoption and then goes to the council.
Yeah, so one of the things on this thing was to analyze what's causing the most work in terms of generating requests to the planning commission. Like we know, for example, the tree radius is one.
Yes.
All right, so then the question is, I've had this happen while you're out, several people were coming to me saying, well, why is it that percent? Why is it this setback, and what's the requirements for it and everything? And I explained to them that we went all through this all before. And so there are a couple things. First of all, we probably need to do a better job in the ordinance setup of explaining why. All right, so there's a lot of, here's the real rule. But why is six times the minimum, and why is 2 not acceptable? Things like that, so that people have context. It's sort of not explaining the why creates the most questions. The next is something to do about the development about the changes to the setback and things like that to help us with the changes in property size that we anticipate coming forward. So, yeah, I'll say, picking up on what Bob said about the
Well,
175.
but I mean, one example that is filtered out to me, the tree protection zone could and should be different for a driveway than it is for a basement.
Yes, and it is different. So right now for a basement, you would need to be 10 times away. Brand new location for a driveway is 8 times, but if you use an existing or close to an existing driveway, it can be 3 times.
Okay, I didn't know.
So I think people just aren't very clear, which anybody can come ask me and I can explain all of the different TBZs, but I think some people think everything is a far distance. But yeah,
All
that's
right.
all I can say about
Thank
it.
you.
And
But so I still think there are probably things that you are coming across and you are coming across, and probably some other staff members are coming across that you recognize maybe should be looked at. And I just would like to see that done because it makes less work for everybody if our ordinances are realistic with what we're being forced to do and what we're trying to do in the community.
Okay.
There's one other aspect that among both of your areas, and this is something that goes way back planning wise for me, is that there's 2 aspects to every approval. One is the landscape element of it, and the other is the planning as a site management aspect of it. And I kind of feel like we whip from one to the other depending on the tree thing. So I'd like to figure out a way we balance that. So when a site can be better used at the elimination of a tree, that could be the justification for the elimination of a tree.
And I
Um,
think when I started working with Sally, most of our pushback as both of us is, please give us the alternative locations
Yes,
and prove to us why this is the spot and
Right.
why you want that tree down.
right,
We got a lot of pushback in the beginning, but that kind of justifies it from them to bring a design solution
right,
before they come and say, this is what I want and this is why
Right.
the tree. So our question, actually, we meet with them over Zoom, we go to site, and that, in fact, she takes a look at it at staff level, I take a look at it at staff level. And when she can't approve it, I can't approve the ADU or the garage, then it goes to them saying,
right.
give us those alternatives. And that kind of helps sometimes, and that's what happened. The project that was withdrawn today
Yes.
was the work of that.
Right,
The work of, please think about all your, so we give them all the 3, 4, 5 options that they can use, the tools they can use in the ordinance to make that work. So it is a learning back and forth process that we're trying to merge how to understand the site and the planning with the trees and the zoning. It takes a little bit of time because it's very busy,
yes,
but we're trying to get on top of it. And that is why you see Sean today. He's
Right.
the associate trying to take over some of our
all
work.
right, John, good job on your first night too.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, thank you. All right, we'll keep working that, Bob. Keep putting it on and then keep working it and then we'll do the work ahead. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Take us home.
No. You guys get to do the last motion.
Go ahead, I'll second.
Move to
I
adjourn.
second.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
All right.
Next time.
I'm
gonna bring you a new gavel. A new meat cleaver. I missed the meat cleaver.
I forgot. All right, man. Hey.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.